Welcome to R or Him, where I don't think my boss knows that I know there's a camera in my office. I don't know where to start because I'm not even sure if this is weird or not. I started at this new job not long ago, and since the first day, I known there was a camera in my office. I don't know where to start because I'm not even sure if this is weird or not. I started at this new job not long ago, and since the first day, I known there was a camera in my office. I don't think it's necessarily weird to have cameras in an office setting. There's cameras in all sorts of places for all kinds of reasons. But the camera in my office isn't any sort of built-in fixture, and my individual office room is the only office with a camera in it. On my first day of the job, I realized my boss was too aware of my actions. He said something to me that threw me off, and I knew he wouldn't have brought it up unless he had been watching me do something. It was just too coincidental, but it was casual at the same time, so it wasn't a direct allusion to the camera he has. But immediately after that incident, I scanned around the room, and I found a camera nestled into a cubby with a small wire that leads into his adjacent office. My other boss has also indirectly responded to my actions in the group chat. The few times I had spent an excessive amount of time on my phone were times that the "Hey guys, let me know if you guys need anything to work on. I know things are slow" messages would trickle in. Anything that seemed to hint at me being watched was also said or done ambiguously, enough that they weren't revealing anything about being able to see me, as if I'm not supposed to know I'm being watched. And that's what is unsettling to me. The camera is pointed directly at me, not the door, not the front of my desk, not anywhere else that would make sense for security. I've looked at everyone else's offices and didn't see a single camera. The camera is pointed specifically at me, and I don't even deal with money or anything that could be stolen. I don't know if I should bring this up. I'm not entirely mad, and I guess I understand the reasoning, like making sure I'm on task or some shit. It just bothers me a little that I can be watched whenever, and they never even disclose that. I feel like someone being constantly monitored has the right to know that they are, especially since I'm the only one being watched like this. I at least use it to my advantage, because I at least know not to be on my phone lol. Wibta, if I don't visit my parents after the death of a family member, I have a pretty strained relationship with both my 27F mom and dad. They aren't overall bad people, but they do have some emotionally manipulative or abusive tendencies that complicate how I feel about them. I have been trying to set boundaries that feel reasonable to me, but my parents regularly remind me that they raised me and sacrificed a lot in the process. It is true that they did, and it makes me feel so guilty about trying to stick to my boundaries like not allowing them to belittle me, not seeing them as regularly as they would want, living with my partner without being married even though they disapprove of it. We have been low contact for the past little while and a cousin of mine just died. My parents want me to come to their house to offer my condolences and give them emotional support. Yet I know for a fact if my best friend died that they wouldn't come to mine to do the same. They refuse to come to my apartment because I live with my partner unmarried. I keep a distance from my folks for my own mental health, and I would prefer to deal with this shock apart from them. However, I anticipate that they're going to make me feel bad about it, and it's making me wonder if I'm being too ungrateful or harsh. I know there's a camp on Reddit that thinks kids don't owe their parents anything, and I don't exactly feel that way. I think unless they are terrible people, it's the humane thing to offer some sort of relationship, even out of obligation. At the same time, I don't want to be obligated to them at the expense of my own mental health. Wibta, if I put my need for distance above their need for closeness, or is a death a special circumstance that I should just suck it up for? I had an idea to place a fart machine in the annoying class next door at community college. It worked. So, for some reference, I went to the local community college a few years back. It was a pretty good education for the cost, and the environment was fairly chill. It wasn't always the easiest to make friends because of the lack of activities or involvement, but generally a good place. One fall, I was enrolled in a history class, and the professor was just a funny dude. We will call him Dr. Cool for purpose of this post. Dr. Cool got on the good side of the class, and was a pretty go-with-the-flow type guy. The one thing that we all agreed on was that the class next to us could get annoying. This next-door professor was always loud during his lessons. We will call him Dr. Smith. His voice disrupted our class on multiple occasions throughout each session. So damn obnoxious. And worst of all, we could never escape it, as it started and ended at the same time as ours. One day, I hatched a brilliant idea. During the last week of class, place a fart machine in that class, well, really a Bluetooth speaker, and a fart app to get back at them for disrupting us the entire semester. I met up with a couple of the students one day and discussed my plan, and sure of how they would react. Turns out, they were completely in on it. So one day, I unsuccessfully attempted to pull this off by bringing my own speaker. However, something didn't work. I think the range was too long or something. So the next time, as classes are wrapping up, we try again. This one kid brings an expensive and loud portable speaker, and we sneak in before class time and place it underneath the podium in front of the room, so no one would spot it. To keep the silence, because this wireless speaker, like most, makes a ding sound when connection is detected. He left it on and ran a silence track through YouTube. We were all set for action. As our class starts, we can barely contain ourselves because of the devious stunt we all knew was about to happen. We tell Dr. Cool, and he is completely in on this. We decide to let one rip every time Dr. Smith makes the loud remarks we can hear so evidently through the walls. And so, once he makes his existence known to the floor, our professor signals us that it's time. Classmate, at the direction of Dr. Cool, pressed this fart trigger on his phone, and it was way louder than we thought. You could have heard that thing on the other end of the hall. Our class is nearly erupting into laughter, and our professor tells us to keep quiet as best as we can. I'm honestly surprised that Dr. Smith never stopped with those loud remarks, because of the pattern. He gets loud, and a blast is heard in return. Additionally, he never came into our class to confront us. We do this probably 10-15 more times throughout our day there. The app this kid picked was so realistic and diverse, you would have left that room wondering what the hell Dr. Smith was eating. To have left such thunderous gas in front of a room full of students. I'll say, our school was pretty chill, but on one fateful day, we ruptured that mood with much-deserved blasts that served as a legacy moment in time. A class that needed to hear what we thought of them. What a beautiful moment in my life. My horrible mother-in-law is homeless, and my wife and I don't care. I'm a 25 meters and married to a 26F named Carol, and her mother, Danielle, who is 61, is a complete bag of garbage, and that's the nicest thing to say. During Carol's childhood, Danielle would always belittle Carol and manipulate her into the most BS stuff, mostly always claiming that her father abandoned them in code to seek fame and fortune in CA, and refusing to pay child support, whereas she would actually spend said child support on her own self, buying books and clothes, and not supporting her daughter. Danielle also changed Carol's last name on Social Security to Danielle's last name when she was a little kid, which made it incredibly difficult for Carol to find a job as an adult, because she was an illegal alien to the US government. That meant she had one last name on her birth certificate, and a different last name on her Social Security card. Danielle also had a very crap job that didn't pay the best, and had to get an apartment with Carol under Carol's name because Danielle had shit credit and Carol had a 0 credit score because she was 18 at the time and didn't have her own bills to pay. Danielle kept getting on Carol's case about not having a job, but Carol said she couldn't because of the name issue. They ended up getting evicted due to failure to pay rent because Danielle's job wasn't enough to pay for a luxury apartment and had to move in with grandma. Danielle later lost her job during COVID and has been unemployed ever since. There's way too many scenarios about how Danielle would take advantage of her own daughter, but I don't want to bore y'all with the details. Anyway, on to the story. Back in late 2021, while me and Carol were engaged, she wanted to join the US Navy. She got her name changed to her father's last name on Social Security to match her birth certificate, and even gave her recruiter child custody papers to prove her name. She enlisted, got through basic, completed her schooling, and got her orders to serve on a ship. We got married in September 2022, before she was shipped to VA for her new orders, while Carol was serving, and I spent time packing my belongings to move out to VA myself. I learned that Danielle was going to therapy to possibly move on, or so I imagine. I tried so damn hard to stay away from her during that time, but she was always bugging me, wondering why Carol wasn't talking to her during the day. I let her know on repeated occasions that she has no cell service on her ship, but to her, it was just one of those in one ear, and right out the other things. I eventually made it to VA in December 2022 to be with Carol. We have been ignoring all of Danielle's calls for a while. Fast forward to April. Carol gets a text from Danielle asking her to call her to talk. They talk on the phone for a while, and Carol learns that her grandma is not doing well. I also get my brother's H's graduation invitation in the mail, and I want to see him graduate in May, which means Carol wants to see her grandma because she fears that she may not make it to the end of 2023. Danielle seemed to be super nice, and Carol and I both thought she changed because of all the therapy she had been getting. So last week we fly back to Co, and Danielle loans us her car while we're there, and was being way too nice to us, like a decent human. We see my brother walk across the stage, and Carol gets to see her grandma. While there, we learn that grandma wants to move into a more safer place with Carol's aunt because of her health, and Danielle has to move somewhere else because, in her eyes, everyone doesn't want to take me in because the family doesn't like me. We told her that if we weren't living in a 650 square foot one-bedroom apartment on the other side of the country, then we could help her. Again, she starts being even nicer to us while still in Co. I even warned Carol that her being nice could mean something bad in the future, given her past behavior. Carol agreed. A few days after we flew back to VA, which was 5 days ago, Carol gets a text from Danielle saying that she's gonna have to live in her car because nobody will help her in. Carol asked her why she can't get a job and get her own apartment, and she said that, "I can't get a job at my age, and it's been too long, and it's very expensive to live on your own, especially in Co." Carol told her that we unfortunately can't help her because 1, we live in a small apartment, and 2, we live 7 states away on the other side of the country. So now here we are today. I'm at work and I get a call from Carol saying that she needs to be with me. I ask if everything's okay, because I can tell she's not. She said she would talk about it when she got there. 30 minutes later, she shows up and I go on my lunch break with her. She tells me that her mom literally asked for $1,000 to help her move from Co to VA so she could be with us. $1,000. We told her multiple times we couldn't help her because we don't have that kind of room. We let alone don't have $1,000 to just give away because we live
paycheck to paycheck. I was so flabbergasted. And Carol told me that her being super nice in recent times was way too good to be true, which is what I felt would happen. She either didn't get the therapy she needed, or she lied. I don't know what the case was about that because there's no proof.
I wasn't around for this part, but Carol and Danielle argued over the phone, more like cussing each other out. Danielle was upset with Carol for not providing a home for her when she did it for her first 20 years of life, and now, Carol can't return the favor. Carol then told her mother, "Just fuck off already," before hanging up and blocking her completely. Danielle is now homeless and living in her Nissan Sentra, but we couldn't care less. All those years Carol had to endure due to Danielle's entitled and narcissistic behavior is now biting her in the ass. And nobody wants to live with her because of this. Because that bitch only cares about herself and knows what she's doing is wrong and doesn't give a shit. I personally and honestly don't care if she dies. I will piss on her grave when she dies.